is a really short video. I just want to say this. Guys, when I'm talking about repression, I am not talking about the emotions that come up. Okay, hear me. I'm not talking about emotions that you have access to. Even if you have access to them sometimes, I'm talking about emotions that are fully repressed in our experience. They are not showing up. For example, if you're repressing anger, it's not showing up as anger. It's showing up as I can't speak, I can't set a boundary, I can't say what I want, I can't tell my mom to stop coming over. My friend who's very nosy, I can't say no to her. That's how that shows up. Repressing sadness might show up as a lot of anger, right? Because you might not be able to show and feel sadness or more vulnerable feelings, so you get quick to temper a lot. See, sadness is not showing up when there's repression. Anger is not showing up when there's anger repression. This is why we keep missing this on the bypassing it, because we're not understanding what it is first. Repression of sexuality will not show up as sexuality. It'll show up as, and even people awaken to awareness and they think they've lost their sexual desire, but in fact they've just repressed it. So repressions don't show up as that thing. So when you're listening to me, people are listening to me and they're sending me emails like, oh yeah, I felt into a lot of sadness last week. That's fine, but that's not repressed. It's good that you had access to that. It might have been repressed previously, but repression is a very long-held mechanism of continuously holding back particular emotions, desires, the voice, or something. It's not going to be lifted. Listen to me. It will not be lifted just because you got angry the other day. It's great that you were able to get angry, but we're talking about a mechanism that is your personality. See, so what I think people are doing is they want to be able to access these repressions. It's really coming from a good place, but it's confused. And I just have to tell you this because it's part of what I need to do is to clear up what we're doing here. When I'm saying anger repression, what I'm saying is there's an unconscious mechanism in your nervous system that you don't have access to that's basically telling you to hold back anger all the time. And so that's what I'm talking about, is accessing that mechanism, bringing it into awareness. And you can't just put the thought up there in awareness and say, hold back. Or you can't just look at some of these thoughts and just witness them, because they're connected to the somatic. So they're connected to pain, sometimes illness, and body contraction. And so what we're doing in the KI is we're feeling into that, and we're using prompts that bring up the mechanism of holding back, that doesn't bring up the anger. Eventually it does, but we have to work with the mechanism first. See, there's a mechanism that won't allow it to arise, that won't let the sadness arise, that will not let the fear fully arise, or sexual urges or whatever. That's not awakening. That's not transcending those things. That is holding it back. There's a mechanism there. So to the extent that something manifests, like anger or sadness or something like that, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a mechanism back here that says you can't. So the fact that you had access to it, look, I was really repressing anger, but I got angry every now and then. Even someone who represses anger will get angry, because what you do is you hold it in, you hold it in, you hold it in, and then volcano. So you can't say that just because you have volcanic eruptions that you're not in anger repression. This is how much it hides from us. I'm telling you, this is why I have the members area, because just of all the confusion around this. And there's a lot of compassion for the confusion, because I was really confused about this 5 years ago. Super confused. And that's what I'm seeing in people, is confusion. Because they haven't accessed the repression commands, the commands to hold it back. So you're looking in your awareness trying to find what I'm talking about. You're not going to find it there. You can bring it into awareness, but it's not showing up. Okay, so I keep getting these emails, and I just feel like I want to say that, I'm talking about a different landscape, a different aspect of our consciousness that we haven't woken up to yet. And KI has brought it to the surface. So again, before you send that next email to me that says, last week I was finally able to feel the heartbreak of the grief from my grandmother dying. That's wonderful, actually. That's healthy. It's not what I'm talking about. Okay? What I'm saying is that what something broke through in that moment, that was felt. That doesn't mean the mechanism is gone. Again, anger repressors get angry. So the fact that they get angry does not mean they're not in repression. It just means the volcano erupted. You can't hold that in very long. And by the way, if it comes up, if it comes out like that, don't think that you've released all of your anger. That's the bypass. There's a mechanism going on. Okay? So as soon as you express the anger, if your conditioning is to repress, as soon as the anger is expressed, you go back to it, to not expressing it, because there's really strong conditioning of holding it back. Can you hear me now? This is why I say, don't look for the emotions that are arising. Look for chronic pain, body contraction, relationship issues where you can't speak up or you feel like you can't really let your partner see you fully, mental health issues that persist, illnesses. Look for that. Don't look for the emotion that arises. If an emotion arises, that's not repression. Look for the effects of it. If you see the effects of it, body contraction, pain that persists, illness that you can't solve, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's how tricky this is. It can so easily be missed. I missed it totally. I thought I had a physical pain situation, a spinal condition, and I did. I missed it completely because to the extent I was talking about anger prior to that, I was talking about the anger that manifested. I didn't see how it was, some of it was repressed and creating the chronic pain. See, it's totally blinding. We live with our head in the sand. We cannot see it. And we're trying to convince ourselves that we're not repressed because the mind acts like a gateway to hearing this message because it's unconscious. So it'll come here and listen to the message. And it'll say things like, I felt anger, so I must not be repressed. That's the gateway. It's keeping it hidden from you. The mechanism is going on behind that. The fact that you got sad, felt grief, or that's not what I'm talking about. Okay? It's going on behind here. Look for the effects of it. That's it. I just want to say that.